Thank you for joining us tonight. The basic story here, and we're going to talk about it in detail, is that Donna Brazile today wrote an article in Politico, and this article, from what I understand, is an excerpt from her upcoming book. But what she says in the article, among other things, is she reveals there was an agreement between the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC, which came into place well before 2016, I believe toward the end of 2015. And it basically gave Hillary Clinton control over the DNC. I know that sounds kind of crazy. It sounds like a conspiracy theory, but this actually is in Donna Brazile's article. Donna Brazile was the chair, the interim chair of the DNC. She is certainly a Democrat. She is not a Republican. And this was published in Politico, which is by no means a conservative publication. It's kind of your standard, I think they try to be neutral. I'm not to say there might be individual cases where you might think they're not, but they try to be neutral. They're not overtly liberal or conservative. So this is a Donna Brazile article she wrote. She was chair at the time she was chair after W. Wasserman Schultz for a period during the campaign. She found this stuff out, and she's saying there was this agreement reached between the DNC and the Hillary Clinton campaign, which, I'm not kidding you, gave control over DNC operations to the Hillary Clinton campaign. And as she says in the article, we're going to see in a second, that goes against what tradition would hold in a major party in the United States, in the party organization, which is that if there's not an incumbent running and there's an election where you're trying to figure out who the candidate's going to be, you don't have one candidate in control of that party. The party is supposed to organize the elections, puts the party agenda, but they're not supposed to be supporting or being not even just supporting, being in control of a candidate during the whole election process. And, we did see some emails come out during the campaign which suggested that the DNC was favoring Hillary Clinton in the election process before she was the nominee. But, today, as far as I'm aware, this is new in that this revelation from Donna Brazile shows there was an agreement even before 2016. I think it may have been, was it before she announced she was running? But certainly toward the end of 2015. Let me just get that detail up because I think that's important. 4 months after she announced her candidacy in August 2015, nearly a year before the nomination, Hillary Clinton and the DNC reached an agreement which gave Hillary Clinton control over the DNC operations. I know that sounds crazy, but it's in the article. We're going to talk about the article now. I'm actually going to read through the article with you. I think it's really important. And to me, as someone who thinks that important news on either side should be covered, this seems like a really important story to me, and I didn't really see getting a lot of press today. Certainly, like in the Twitterverse, I follow all of these people who cover politics, all of these correspondents for different networks and stuff, and I might have seen one mainstream media correspondent tweet about this today, but it seems like a big story to me. So we're here, we're going to cover it for you, and we're going to get into the article right now and get into some of the details and show you what this article says by Donna Brazile. This is coming from Donna Brazile. This is not some theory somebody has about what went on. This is coming from Donna Brazile, who was the interim chair of the Democratic National Committee, which and she did take over for Debbie Wasserman Schultz during the election campaign. So she should know what she's talking about. So before we get into it real quick, thank you to the moderators for moderating the chat room, chat rooms both in YouTube, in the YouTube chat room and on the website today. Thank you all for tuning in both on Facebook and on YouTube. If you do like these broadcasts, you should subscribe to us on YouTube and click the notifications bell so you know when we're coming on the air with these broadcasts. And also, if you're watching the broadcast and you're saying to yourself, I like this broadcast, I like that someone's giving this amount of time to this story, please consider making a donation because we are viewer supported. It's your donations that keep us on the air. We can't stay on the air without your support. So if you like the broadcast, you want to see more of them, you can support us by going to the bottom of the YouTube chat and clicking on the little dollar symbol at the bottom of the YouTube chat. There's a little dollar sign there. Or you can go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. And also, during the broadcast, I'm going to be taking your comments, reading them on the air, whatever you think about this story, and taking your questions as well. So if you have a comment or a question, write to me on Twitter, at Lookner, on Twitter, at Lookner. I think everybody can hear me. Let me just do a little sound check here. Good. Sounds like it's coming through great. Okay, so let's get into this article, shall we? I want to just read through it with you and show you what's in here. So this is the article from today's Politico. And it says, inside Hillary Clinton's secret takeover of the DNC. And I know this sounds like something you might see in a conservative news organization's publication. This is a Donna Brazile article. Oh, and it says book club, so it's from her book. A Donna Brazile article in Politico. So this is not, biased conservative or paper trying to drum up some scandal. It is Politico, and the article is by Donna Brazile. And so the subheadline is, when I was asked to run the Democratic Party after the Russians hacked our emails, I stumbled onto a shocking truth about the Clinton campaign. So let's go through this article. Okay, we'll just start going right through it, getting some of the details. And by the way, before we start, Devil's Advocate made a little donation. Thank you, Devil's Advocate, so much. Really appreciate that, and said, I got to tell you, this is just spicy. And also Christine Bestien made a donation and said, Hillary's going to jail. Thank you, Steve. I have heard no reports going to jail, but you're welcome. We're covering this because we thought you might be interested in it. Okay, let's talk about this article. This is from Donna Brazile. Oh, and before I get into this, it's from her book upcoming. You can see it there. It's called Hacks: The Inside Story of, on the right, the inside story of the break-ins and breakdowns that put Donald Trump in the White House, which I think sounds a little weird, the title, because it sounds like somehow like break-ins got him in the White House, that he kind of cheated his way in or something, which there's an implication of that in that title, and I don't think that's been shown. Anyways, though, let's get into the article itself. Let's see what Donna Brazile has to say. So she says, introductory part of the article. Before I called Bernie Sanders, I lit a candle in my living room and I put on some gospel music. I wanted to center myself for what I knew would be an emotional phone call. I had promised Bernie, when I took the helm of the Democratic National Committee after the convention, that I would get to the bottom of whether Hillary Clinton's team had rigged the nomination process, as a cache of emails stolen by Russian hackers and posted online had suggested. I'd had my suspicions from the moment I walked in the door of the DNC a month or so earlier, based on the leaked emails. But who knows if some of them might have been forged? I needed to have solid proof, and so did Bernie. So I followed the money. My predecessor, Florida Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, had not been the most active chair in fundraising at a time when President Barack Obama's neglect had left the party in significant debt. As Hillary's campaign gained momentum, she resolved the party's debt and put it on a starvation diet. It had become dependent on her campaign for survival, for which she expected to wield control of its operations. Debbie was not a good manager. She hadn't been very interested in controlling the party. She let Clinton headquarters in Brooklyn do as it desired, so she didn't have to inform the party officers how bad the situation was. How much control Brooklyn had and for how long was still something I'd been trying to uncover for the last few weeks. By September 7th, the day I called Bernie, I had found my proof, and it broke my heart. What proof did she find? We're going to have to look at this. So we have a situation. This article starts off with, she's calling Bernie Sanders to talk to him about what she found in her investigation of the DNC once she became chair. She says she had, heard these rumors from those emails. There were those hacked emails that WikiLeaks released during the campaign, middle of last year, which showed the DNC favoring Hillary Clinton in the election process, and she wanted to get to the bottom of this. She said she wanted to get proof, Donna Brazile, for herself, because who knows, she said, maybe the hacked emails were actually forged. But she said she found something out and it broke her heart, and she's about to tell Bernie Sanders about it. So we're going to get into that right now. What did she find out? And before we get to that, we got another donation here. Carl Peterson. Thank you, Carl. Carl says, RSBN has the best news coverage in all things Trump. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Carl. Really appreciate that. The reason we can be on the air devoting this amount of time to this story is because you have donated. It's your donations that keep us on the air. So if you like our broadcast, go to the bottom of the YouTube chat, click on the $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat, or go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. And don't forget, subscribe to us on YouTube and click the notifications bell so you know when these videos are coming out. Okay, let's get back to the story. Again, we're going to this. This came out today. Donna Brazile wrote this. It's in Politico. We're reading through her story. She found something out about the DNC when she became the chair after Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigned. Let's see what she found out. Okay, the article continues. The Saturday morning after the convention in July, I called Gary Gensler. Now, just a timeline thing here. Remember, Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigned right as the convention was starting. So let me just do this here. She resigned right as the convention was starting. So this takes place this Saturday morning after the convention is after Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigned and soon after Donna Brazile took over the DNC. So the Saturday morning after the convention in July, I called Gary Gensler, the chief financial officer of Hillary's campaign. He wasted no words. He told me the Democratic Party was broke and $2 million in debt. What? I screamed. I am an officer of the party, and they've been telling us everything is fine, and they were raising money with no problems. That wasn't true, he said. Officials from Hillary's campaign had taken a look at the DNC's books. Obama left the party $24 million in debt, $15 million in bank debt, and more than $8 million owed to vendors after the 2012 campaign, and had been paying that off very slowly. Obama's campaign was not scheduled to pay it off until 2016. Hillary for America, the campaign, and the Hillary Victory Fund, its joint fundraising vehicle with the DNC, had taken care of 80% of the remaining debt in 2016, about $10 million, and had placed the party on an allowance. If I didn't, so we have, she's hearing right now, Donna Brazile, that unbeknownst to her, when she took over as the chair in the middle of 2016, party was way in debt. It had gotten in debt under Obama, and Hillary Clinton, their campaign had paid off a lot of the debt and put the party on an allowance. The Clinton campaign was giving an allowance to the DNC. And remember, Donna Brazile was a vice chair when before she was the chair, she was a vice chair of the Democratic Party. She didn't know about any of this stuff. She thought the party was doing fine, and now she's just finding out that the party was way in debt. And very quickly, thank you to DM for your donation. DM says, love RSBN and all true RSBNers and mods. Thank you. Thank you, DM. Let's continue here. Donna Brazile writes, if I didn't know about this, I assumed that none of the other officers knew about it either. That was just Debbie's way. In my experience, she didn't come to officers of the DNC for advice and counsel. She seemed to make decisions on her own and let us know at the last minute what she had decided, as she had done when she told us about the hacking only minutes before the Washington Post broke the news. On the phone, Gary told me that the DNC had needed a $2 million loan, which the Clinton campaign had arranged. No! That can't be true, I said. The party cannot take out a loan without the unanimous agreement of all of the officers. Gary, how did they do this without me knowing? I asked. I don't know how Debbie relates to the officers, Gary said. He described the party as fully under the control of Hillary's campaign. Again, the chief financial officer of the Clinton campaign described the party as fully under the control of Hillary's campaign, which seemed to confirm the suspicions of the Bernie camp. The campaign had the DNC on life support, giving it money every month to meet its basic expenses, while the campaign was using the party as a fundraising clearinghouse. Under FEC law, an individual can contribute a maximum of $2,700 directly to a presidential campaign. But the limits are much higher for contributions to state parties and a party's national committee. individuals who had maxed out on their $2,700 contribution limit to the Clinton campaign could write an additional check for $353,400 to the Hillary Victory Fund. That figure represented $10,000 to each of the 32 states parties who were part of the Victory Fund agreement. $320,000 and $33,400 to the DNC. The money would be deposited in the states first and transferred to the DNC shortly after that. Money in the battleground states usually stayed in that state, but all the other states funneled that money directly to the DNC, which quickly transferred the money to Brooklyn. Okay, I got to stop here. So those last two paragraphs, a lot's going on there. First of all, Donna Brazile, she gets to be chairman. She's investigating this stuff. She's heard about how there might be, some kind of not good things happening in the DNC where it's favoring Hillary, and she wants proof of this. So first of all, in July, she talks to the CFO of the Clinton campaign, and the CFO tells her that the campaign is way in debt. The DNC is way in debt. The Clinton campaign is paying off its debt, and it's giving it a little money each month to pay its expenses. It says the campaign had the DNC on life support. And also, though, the campaign, this is what Donna Brazile said she heard from the Hillary Clinton campaign CFO. The Clinton campaign is using the DNC and state fundraising to get around $2,700 individual limits on contributions to the Clinton campaign. I mean, look, this is what it says here. It says the campaign was using the party as a fundraising clearinghouse. It says what would happen is they would have these they had this agreement with the DNC, the campaign, and they had this thing called the Hillary Victory Fund, and they would collect money in the different states to go into this Hillary Victory Fund, which was supposed to be a thing, a joint venture between the Clinton campaign and the DNC, and that money is supposed to go not to Hillary Clinton campaign, it's supposed to go to the DNC. But what would happen is somebody could write a check for basically $353,400, give it to the Hillary Victory Fund, and then Hillary Clinton campaign would eventually take that money for themselves. And this says right here that, this is what the article says. The article says they were doing this to go around individual contribution limits, because you could only under law give $2,700 to the Hillary Clinton campaign. So I'm just reading what Donna Brazile said and she heard in the article. Okay, so let's continue here. But that I tweeted about that before. That's like this extra detail, which I think is important. Besides the Clinton campaign controlling the DNC, you have Donna Brazile saying that the Hillary Clinton campaign was basically laundering money, they were taking money that was supposed to be going to the DNC and to the states for their local campaigns, and they were taking it for themselves. That's what it says, to go around, to get around FEC contribution limits. Real quick, I just want to say thank you. Somebody else made a donation here. Cindy Black made a donation, said, love your newscast, best by far. Thank you, Cindy, very much appreciate it. All right, let's continue here with this article and see what happens next. This is Right Side Broadcasting. We are covering the story that broke today. Donna Brazile revealed that the Hillary Clinton campaign was in control of the DNC. Control of the DNC. I'm not making this up. You're going to see more about this in a few minutes as I go through this article. It's amazing. But this is Donna Brazile saying this. The Hillary Clinton campaign was in complete control of the DNC, and Hillary Clinton was in control of it since August of 2015, all through 2016, all the way through the time when they were supposed to be choosing a nominee with a neutral DNC. So we're covering this. I'm going to take your comments in a little bit. So if you have comments on this, write to me at Lookner on Twitter, at Lookner. And also, if you do enjoy the broadcasts, you enjoy that we're actually giving full treatment of this story, which a lot of news outlets will not be doing today. You can keep us on the air because we are viewer supported. Your donations keep us on the air. So if you'd like to support us, go to the bottom of the YouTube chat and click on the $sign, a little $sign at the bottom of the YouTube chat, or go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. Okay, let's continue with the story. We were at this point. So we just heard about how the Clinton campaign was loaning a little bit of money. Well, I don't know about a little bit, but they were loaning money to the DNC every month to pay the DNC's expenses. And they were also using this money that was not supposed to go to them. They were taking this money from the Hillary Victory Fund that was supposed to stay within the DNC and the states, and they were taking it for the Clinton campaign. But let's continue here. Wait, I said. So she just heard this news about all this money being taken from the Hillary Fund and transferred to the Clinton campaign. Wait, said Donna Brazile. Wait, I said. That Victory Fund was supposed to be for whoever was the nominee and the state party races. You're telling me that Hillary has been controlling it since before she got the nomination? Gary said the campaign had to do it or the party would collapse, which I don't really understand. It sounds like he's saying if they didn't launder this money and take it for themselves, they wouldn't have had money to loan to the campaign. That's what it sounds like. If they didn't take this money and kind of launder it and take it for themselves, then they wouldn't have had money to loan the DNC. But it's a little confusing because it was supposed to be the DNC's to begin with. But maybe she's saying the DNC wouldn't have used it that way. That sentence is an important sentence, but it's kind of confusing. I'm not going to get hung up on it now. We can talk about that later. Let's continue though. Gary, the CFO of the Clinton campaign, says that was the deal that Robbie struck with Debbie. He explained, referring to campaign manager of the Clinton campaign, Robbie Mook. It was to sustain the DNC. We sent the party nearly $20 million from September until the convention and more to prepare for the election. What's the burn rate, Gary? I asked. How much money do we need every month to fund the party? The burn rate was $3.5 million to $4 million a month, he said. I gasped. I had a pretty good sense of the DNC's operations after having served as an interim chair 5 years earlier. Back then, the monthly expenses were half that. What had happened? The party chair usually shrinks the staff between presidential election campaigns, but Debbie had chosen not to do that. She had stuck lots of consultants on the DNC payroll, and Obama's consultants were being financed by the DNC too. When we hung up, I was livid. Not at Gary, but at this mess I'd inherited. I knew that Debbie had outsourced a lot of the management of the party and had not been the greatest at fundraising. I would not be that kind of chair, even if I was only an interim chair. Did they think I would just be a surrogate for them, get on the road and rouse up the crowds? I was going to manage this party the best I could and try to make it better, even if Brooklyn did not like this. It would be weeks before I would fully understand the financial shenanigans that were keeping the party on life support. So she's found out so far that this party is deeply in debt and that the Clinton campaign is basically funding the DNC. But what she hasn't found out is this arrangement, the exact nature of this arrangement between the DNC and the Clinton campaign. That's coming up very soon, might even be in the next section. So we're going to get to that in a second. And, if you like these broadcasts, subscribe to us on YouTube. Click the notifications bell on YouTube and you'll get a notification whenever you hear about these broadcasts. We cover breaking news all the time, politics, non-politics, a lot of different stuff. You can also follow us on Facebook at Right Side Broadcasting and on Twitter at RSB Network, And write to me with comments if you have comments on this story, on this news, because in just a couple minutes, I'm going to be reading your comments on the air. All right. We're getting to the big reveal in the story. Let's continue. Donna Brazile's article. Right around the time of the convention, the leaked emails revealed Hillary's campaign was grabbing money from the state parties for its own purposes, leaving the states with very little to support down-ballot races. A Politico story published on May 2nd, 2016 described the big fundraising vehicle she had launched through the states the summer before, quoting a vow she had made to rebuild the party from the ground up. When our state parties are strong, we win. That's what will happen. Yet the states kept less than half of 1% of the $82 million they had amassed from the extravagant fundraisers Hillary's campaign was holding, just as Gary had described to me when he and I talked in August. Again, The states kept less than half of 1% of the $82 million they had raised in these extravagant fundraisers that the Hillary campaign was holding. When the Politico story described this arrangement as essentially money laundering for the Clinton campaign, that was from the Politico story, Hillary's people were outraged at being accused of doing something shady. Bernie's people were angry for their own reasons, saying this was part of a calculated strategy to throw the nomination to Hillary. I wanted to believe Hillary, who made campaign finance reform part of her platform, but I had made this pledge to Bernie and did not want to disappoint him. I kept asking the party lawyers and the DNC staff to show me the agreements that the party had made for sharing the money they raised, but there was a lot of shuffling of feet and looking the other way. When I got back from a vacation in Martha's Vineyard, I at last found the document that described it all. The joint fundraising agreement between the DNC, the Hillary Victory Fund, and Hillary for America. Here is where she finds out what the arrangement is between Hillary Clinton and the DNC. Check this out. The agreement signed by Amy Dacey, the former CEO of the DNC, and Robbie Mook, head of the Clinton campaign, with a copy to Mark Elias, specified that in exchange for raising money and investing in the DNC, Hillary would control the party's finances, strategy, and all the money raised. Her campaign had the right of refusal of who would be the party communications director. And it would make final decisions on all the other staff. The DNC also was required to consult with the campaign about all other staffing, budgeting, data, analytics, and mailings. So here's what Donna Brazile has found out. She found out when she took over the DNC from Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who clearly was not informing her fellow officers of the DNC what was really going on at the party. She found out the party was deeply in debt. And the way the party was paying their bills is they had reached this they basically, in sum, reached an agreement with the Clinton campaign, where the Clinton campaign would pay the DNC's bills and keep them solvent in exchange for the DNC letting the Clinton campaign have control over the DNC. Again, that's the basic deal. Clinton campaign pays all the bills of the DNC because they're in debt. DNC gives control of the DNC to the Clinton campaign. And it's right there. I mean, again, in exchange for raising money, and I'm going to highlight this. This is the deal. In exchange for raising money and investing in the DNC, paying its bills, Hillary would control the party's finances, strategy. She controls the strategy. It says it right there. Hillary would control the strategy and the finances and all the money they raise. Her campaign had the right, all the money they raise in conjunction with the Hillary campaign. Her campaign had the right of refusal of who would be the party communications director, and it would make final decisions on all the other staff. So they got to decide, the Clinton campaign got to decide everyone who was hired at the DNC at this time. Final decisions on all the staff. Also, the DNC is required to consult with the campaign about all other staffing, budgeting, data, analytics, and mailings. They couldn't even send out mailings without consulting with the Clinton campaign. To me, that's about, I mean, that paragraph's about as complete control as you could want. That really basically just says the Clinton campaign had total control over the DNC. That's what that paragraph says. And again, this is coming from Donna Brazile. Wow. So Donna Brazile continues, I had been wondering why it was that I couldn't write a press release for the DNC without passing it by the Clinton campaign headquarters in Brooklyn. Well, here was the answer. When the party chooses the nominee, the custom is that the candidate's team starts to exercise more control over the party. If the party has an incumbent candidate, as was the case with Clinton in 96 or Obama in 2012, this kind of arrangement is seamless because the party already is in control of the president. When you have an open contest without an incumbent and competitive primaries, the party comes under the candidate's control only after the nominee is certain. When I was manager of Al Gore's campaign in 2000, we started inserting our people into the DNC in June. This victory fund arrangement, however, had been signed in August 2015, just 4 months after Hillary announced her candidacy and nearly a year before she officially had the nomination. Look at this again. So Donna Brazile says the nominee only gets more control over the DNC after they're officially the nominee, but Hillary Clinton had signed this agreement. The Clinton campaign had signed this secret agreement with the DNC to take control of the DNC in August 2015, a year before she became the nominee. So starting in August 15, there was a signed agreement which ceded control basically over all DNC operations to Hillary Clinton. That's in this article. I just read it for you. Doesn't that seem like that should be big news? Like a big story? Isn't it weird I'm reading like hardly any tweets about it today? Anyways, all right, we're finishing up with this article. A few more paragraphs to go. Want to give you the end of the article, but I want to hear your comments on this. So write to me on Twitter at Lookner at Lookner. I'm going to take your comments on this. We got another no date. So that was the last one. Let me finish up the article here. Okay, Donna Brazile continues. I had tried to search out any other evidence of internal corruption that would show the DNC was rigging the system to throw the primary to Hillary, but I could not find any in party affairs or among the staff. I had gone department by department, investigating individual conduct for evidence of skewed decisions, and I was happy to see that I had found none. Then I found this agreement. The funding arrangement with Hillary for America in the Victory Fund agreement was not illegal, but it sure looked unethical. If the fight had been fair, one campaign would not have controlled the party before the voters had decided which one they wanted to lead. This was not a criminal act, but as I saw it, it compromised the party's integrity. All right, and then this is the final part of the article is where she calls Bernie Sanders and she tells Bernie Sanders what she found. This is Right Side Broadcasting. We are covering the story that Donna Brazile revealed today in Politico that Hillary Clinton, by an agreement with the DNC, had complete control over the DNC since August 2015. We just read that in the article. If you want to know when we're coming on the air with these kind of broadcasts, go to YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Click the notifications bell so you get notified when we come on the air. Also, you can follow us at Right Side Broadcasting on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at RSB Network, and I am on Twitter at Lookner. Please write to me if you have any comments about the story. We're going to get to your short comments in a couple of minutes, right after we finish this. And if you like these broadcasts, please consider donating because your donations keep us on the air. You can donate to them at the bottom of the YouTube chat and click on the $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat, or go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. Okay, let's get to the conclusion. She's about to call Bernie. I had to keep my promise to Bernie. I was in agony as I dialed him. Keeping this secret was going against everything that I stood for, all that I valued as a woman and as a public servant. Hello, Senator. I've completed my review of the DNC, and I did find the cancer, I said, but I will not kill the patient. I discussed the fundraising agreement that each of the candidates had signed. Bernie was familiar with it, but he and his staff ignored it. They had their own way of raising money through small donations. I described how Hillary's campaign had taken it another step. Thank you, by the way, to Bliss Girl for your donation. We very much appreciate it. That helps keep us on the air. Thank you. Okay, continuing with this phone call, Donna Brazile says to Bernie Sanders, I told Bernie I had found Hillary's joint fundraising agreement. I explained that the cancer was that she had exerted this control of the party long before she became the nominee. Had I known this, I never would have accepted the interim chair position. But here we were with only weeks before the election. So Donna Brazile says, she claims that if she knew about this arrangement with the Clinton campaign to give them control of the DNC, she never would have become interim chair of the DNC. So she tells Bernie about this, and she says, Bernie took this stoically. He did not yell or express outrage. Instead, he asked me what I thought Hillary's chances were. The polls were unanimous in her winning, but what he wanted to know was my own assessment. I had to be frank with him. I did not trust the polls, I said. I told him I had visited states around the country, and I found a lack of enthusiasm for her everywhere. I was concerned about the Obama coalition and about millennials. By the way, that's interesting that the acting chair at the time, the interim chair of the DNC, says that toward the end of the campaign, she found a lack of enthusiasm about Hillary Clinton across the country. Continuing, Donna Brazile says, I urged Bernie to work as hard as he could to bring his supporters into the fold with Hillary and to campaign with all the heart and hope he could muster. He might find some of her positions too centrist and her coziness with the financial elites distasteful, but he knew and I knew that the alternative was a person who would put the very future of the country in peril. I knew he heard me. I knew he agreed with me, but I never in my life had felt so tiny and powerless as I did making that call. When I hung up the call to Bernie, I started to cry, not out of guilt, but out of anger. We would go forward. We had to. So that's Donna Brazile's story today from the Politico, which reveals that as of August 15th, from August 15th on, the Hillary Clinton campaign was paying the bills of the DNC in exchange for the DNC basically giving them complete control over DNC operations. You saw the paragraph where it said that. I showed you that paragraph. I'll show you that again. It's right here, this paragraph here. In exchange for raising money and investing in the DNC, paying its bills because they were in debt, Hillary would control the party's finances, strategy, and all the money raised. Her campaign had the right of refusal on who would be the party communications director, and it would make final decisions on all other staff. The DNC was also required to consult with the campaign about all other staffing, budgeting, data, analytics, and mailings. There it is for you. Interesting. So would love to hear what you think about this story. What do you think about it? I want to know. Write to me on Twitter, @Lookner. So again, I think if you read the story, this to me should be a big headline today. I don't care whether you're a conservative news network, a liberal news network, in between. This is really a big story, and I just haven't seen it covered that much. Okay, write to me on Twitter if you have thoughts on this, @Lookner. Let me get to some of your comments. JC, one of our moderators, thanks to all of our moderators today in the YouTube chat on the website too. JC says, Steve, I have no emotion for them. They are traitors of the highest degree. I wish death on no one. But the law says, but the law says death penalty. Are you talking about I think, JC, you messaged me 9 minutes ago about, is this about the terrorist, JC? Because it looks like you're emailing me about the terrorists, not about this. I don't think you want the death penalty for people in the Clinton campaign. I might have been confused, JC, because this was 9 minutes ago. I thought you were messaging me about this. Okay. Sorry about that. I was a little confused here. We had a little mix up with me and JC. Doug Niples writes in, the DNC scandal is just like what Republicans did to Ron Paul, precinct committee chairman. You said the DNC scandal is just like what Republicans did to Ron Paul precinct committeemen by changing the rules to nominate Romney. Angel writes in, Donna Brazile throws Hillary Clinton and Dems under the bus. Interesting comment here. I do think somebody might say, reading this, well, couldn't Donna Brazile, she acts here like none of it was her fault and she didn't know. Well, it's very possible she didn't know about any of this, but there's no blame on herself But, she could have, the day she found out about this, she could have just quit the DNC. Or she could have had a press conference saying, look, this is what happened. I'm going to come clean. We got to change this. So she didn't publicize this until now. So someone might claim she's throwing other people under the bus for something she should take some responsibility for. She doesn't take any responsibility in this article. So that's what Angel, you seem to be saying here. Cindy Lopez said, Steve, you did a great job. Thank you, Cindy. Just trying to sum up this article, this important story for you guys, just to give it some press coverage, Muted Truth says, this is no surprise at all. I remember that interview she had with Megyn Kelly about the debate. Donna Brazile, you're saying. Looked like a deer in the headlights. David Obst writes, Dinesh gave money to other people to donate to his friend's campaign. That's basically what Hillary was doing. I'm not sure who you mean by Dinesh specifically. Feel free to write back and clarify, David. But thank you for writing in. Jeremy Miller says, it's quite humorous, Steve. They were digging for money and going into deeper debt when the reporting pre-election was Hillary over Trump in a landslide. And Jeremy, you're making the point that, from Donna Brazile's account, the Democratic National Committee, the party, was deeply in debt, and they were in debt. She what was that 24 million figure she used? She said Obama left the party 24 million in debt, 15 million in the bank, and more than 8 million owed to vendors, and they'd be paying it off very slowly. So there were financial troubles going on at the DNC, the Democratic Party, which you're saying, Jeremy, we didn't hear much about during the actual election coverage. And Donna Brazile didn't even realize it. Donna Brazile says, look what she says. She says this in July. This is the chair of the party says this in July. What? I am an officer of the party, and they've been telling us everything is fine, and they were raising money with no problems. So, that's something we didn't really hear much about. We didn't hear much about it. She didn't even hear much of it. She didn't hear anything about it before July when she started investigating it. Karen L. Berry says, you're describing money laundering by the Hillary Clinton. Who will take the fall? Well, I'm just giving you what Donna Brazile said. And Donna Brazile said in this passage from our article, she claimed that the Clinton campaign was basically taking money that was supposed to stay in the States and stay with the DNC and taking it for her own campaign to avoid individual contribution limits. That would seem illegal because there are laws about that. I don't know if anybody will ever be prosecuted about that. But from what the article describes, that would seem illegal to me, but I can't speak to any kind of investigation going on or anything about that. Beth Trojanowski says, that means Obama, Elizabeth Warren, and everyone else who campaigned for her knew. They told everyone to vote for a crook. They lied. Charlie Fraley writes, all of the Democrats are corrupt and most of them belong in prison. They know it. Brazile only spinning a story to save the DNC. David Opp says, Dinesh D'Souza went to jail for giving $20,000 to a campaign, which was too much and not legal. Let me just look that up. I don't doubt you, but I'm interested in it, David. Here's one. Oh, I see. So it says, this is from 2014. Dinesh D'Souza entered a guilty plea Tuesday. This was 2014. He used straw donors to make $20,000 in illegal contributions to Republican Senate candidate Wendy Long in 2012. So you're comparing this to that, David. I see. Thank you. John Magoo says, I think Donna Brazile article is a CYA. Remember, she was the one who fed Hillary the debate questions. So some of you think that Donna Brazile in this article, she's not taking responsibility she should be taking. Now, it sounds like, what kind of responsibility it is, somebody might say, well, maybe she didn't know about it before July, like she says, but once she found out, she could have done something about it or revealed it earlier, and now she's sort of like blaming other people. So, maybe somebody written in and said she's trying to preserve the DNC. Maybe she's trying to, make people think the DNC is new for the new campaign or something like that. So I don't know. She's also very critical of Debbie Wasserman Schultz in this article. Let's see. Charlie Fraley says, Hillary's taking the fall for a failed DNC. They're crowning Michelle Obama their next queen. That's who they'll push next. I have a little theory that they're going to really push Kamala Harris, the new senator from California. That's just my theory, but we'll see. Garrett writes, even Pocahontas / Elizabeth Warren admitted an hour ago on CNN the election was rigged. So they were covering at CNN. Well, I'm encouraged to hear they were covering this, supposedly. Jeremy Miller says, I'm wondering, Steve, from the story, how Obama, the Democratic icon, left the party $24 million in debt. I don't know. I don't know whether, we heard from this story that that Obama left the party $24 million in debt, but I'm not aware as to what that money. It's the story said $50 million in bank debt and $8 million owed to vendors from the campaign, but I'm not aware how that all happened and all the financials and all that stuff. I'm not very familiar with that, but that's what the story said. Old Guy 1947 writes, just think what would have happened if Trump was given control of the RNC. 15 other GOP candidates would have something to say. And that made me think, I actually had a thought today, which is, if it came out today that the Trump campaign had an agreement with the RNC for a year before he became the nominee, that the Trump campaign would pay the RNC bills in exchange for complete control of the RNC. Wouldn't that be just like a huge scandal and being reported nonstop 24 hours a day on the networks? I would think so. This is my thought. AZ Sunshine says, and she still didn't win. Gary says, Gary believes it is a crime for what Hillary did, funneling DNC donations to her campaign to avoid FEC contribution limits. JC says, Steve, I mean, traitors need to pay for the crimes these people have committed. Too many people are getting away by playing the justice system. Then maybe it will make a real statement to the globalists. Noreen Sanderson writes, I have heard rumors over the last several weeks that the Democrat Party wanted Hillary Clinton to shut up and go away. This might be how they have decided to do it. Interesting. So you're watching Right Side Broadcasting's coverage of the story in Politico today, where Donna Brazile says that Hillary Clinton had reached a deal with the DNC to basically start controlling the DNC in exchange for paying its bills all the way back in August 2015. We are taking your comments on the air. If you have comments, write to me at Lookner on Twitter, at LOOKNER. Feel free to subscribe to me there on Twitter too, or follow me on Twitter, it is. I post about breaking news all the time. And also, if you like our broadcasts, please consider donating, because we can only be on the air thanks to your support. We're a small company. We rely on viewer donations to stay on the air. And I'm guessing that the coverage we're doing on this story is deeper and more than any of the mainstream media will be doing today. Maybe some of them will be running like a 4-minute segment on it or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But I think this is probably deeper coverage than you're going to see on any of the networks tonight. So if you like that kind of coverage, please consider making a donation, because we rely on you for support. If you'd like to donate, you can go to the bottom of the YouTube chat right next to the broadcast, find the little $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat, and you can click on that. Or go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. Let's hear some more of your messages. P-Cell writes in, interesting stories from the Brazile article, but maybe, just maybe, if she would have spoken out sooner, we wouldn't have seen all the needless opposition to the incoming Trump administration in the early days, even the death of the cops in Texas. Anyways, if the DNC had money back then, can you imagine now? Thanks for writing in, P-Cell. Wisconsin Trump girl sent me a tweet from somebody named Based Monitored that she wanted you guys to see. And I'll show you that. This is the tweet that Wisconsin Trump girl sent me. And it says, Elizabeth Warren agrees that the Hillary campaign rigged the DNC after she denied it and mocked Trump about it for over a year. So you can go look at that at Based Monitored, at Based Monitored. See what she said there. I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Let's play this for a second. Actually, you know what? This isn't posted. I don't want to play this right now because it's not posted by CNN. So if somehow Based Monitored recorded this somewhere and just put it on his Twitter, we'd get in trouble for playing it. So I'm going to play it safe here. If I see it posted by CNN, I can play it. But you can also just go to Based Monitored and look at it for yourself if you want to play the video there. We got to be careful here. We don't want to get RSBN in trouble. BLB Reed says, Obama raised a lot of money but kept it for himself. Did not share with DNC. That's why the party was left in debt. Let's see here. Redacted asked me, what's my opinion on Justice Democrats? I'm not familiar with them, actually. I need to look them up. I see what they are here. But also, it's a little bit off topic, so I'm going to write down myself a note to look up Justice Democrats and do a little research because you asked me to. And I want to know what's going on in the world. Badger Fool says, I think the wording of Brazile's piece suggests positioning Sanders for another run. He is a victim, which is worrying you, say, Badger Fool, as it could have potential. So you think Sanders could be a potentially strong candidate. I do think the age thing might be a problem, though. If he runs, Bernie Sanders, in 2020, he will be 79 years old. Oh, you know, but thanks for writing in. David Opp says she was getting campaign money on her own and then giving to the DNC because it was too much money to give at one time. I'm a little confused by that, David. Could you clarify? Stephanie Messenger says maybe Mueller has been investigating the DNC and she is covering herself. I haven't heard he's investigating the DNC, but no idea. Badger Fool says, yeah, Lookner, Dinesh D'Souza's case was pretty much a political hit job. I'm not very familiar with the case, so that's another thing I have to look up some more later, do some research on. Jeremy Miller says, to clarify, Steve, I'm saying why keep spending $4 million a month when polls, mainstream media, Hollywood, and everyone else was implying Hillary would win in a landslide? Well, the article seems to also say that Donna Brazile thinks that the DNC was way overstaffed and that Debbie Wasserman Schultz refused to cut staff and brought in a lot of consultant people. Charlie Fraley says it looks like it says something like they're looking to get rid of Hillary Rodham Clinton because they're going to push Michelle Obama as their next big candidate. Clintons and Obamas don't get along. Badger Fool says, don't forget she handed debate questions to Clinton and then vehemently denied it. Not exactly a good witness. Redacted says, literally the dumbest headline ever, Hillary Clinton ran the DNC, LOL. Then he says, who knew? So I think you're saying it's dumb because it was obvious to you that that was happening. Rocky Sanchez writes in, Steve, why are they still walking free? Lock crooked Brazile and crooked Clinton up. What message is this sending future generations? Now, this article didn't seem to imply that Donna Brazile did anything illegal. The one potentially illegal thing going on in this article seemed to be that there was Brazile in the article implied that Hillary Clinton, the campaign, was taking money from the DNC in the states to avoid individual campaign contribution limits. That's what it said in the article. Angel says, is it legal for a Democratic candidate to control the DNC before the primary and take the money like that? There's nothing illegal about Hillary Clinton controlling the DNC. Donna Brazile says that in the article. I mean, DNC is a private organization, so they can do what they want. But they do have, Donna Brazile said it wasn't illegal, but it was unethical. That's what Donna Brazile said. In terms of taking money, well, I would think if somebody was intentionally funneling money in a certain way to get around campaign contribution limits, then that would be illegal. Now, it's also, though, it could be very hard to actually show that was the intention when that happened, or, it's one thing for somebody to do something illegal. It's another thing to have a good case to be able to prove that in court. So, but as I mentioned, it would seem that if you're trying to get around laws about campaign contributions, that would be illegal. Garrett says, don't forget to check Hannity in 40 minutes. He announced some bombshell about Obama. He even told Obama to watch it. I know nothing about it, but feel free to watch Hannity tonight if you want to see that. Patriot of Truth says, new image, but same old party. We don't need it. And somebody sent me a tweet here. This was from Darren Giesler. Wanted me to read Jack Posobiec's tweet on the air. And Jack Posobiec had tweeted out, We were called conspiracy theorists for reporting this. Now Brazile admits it. So Jack Posobiec tweeted that out. All right, we're going to be on for just a couple more minutes here. So if you want to write in and give any comments, please do it basically now. I am at Lookner on Twitter, Thank you, everyone, for your comments so far. Very much appreciate you all writing in. And a quick shout out to the moderators for moderating their chat rooms during the broadcast. We have JC, Real Frank, and on YouTube. And I thought we had some others there before, but I probably missed them, or they're not showing up. I only could see a little of the chat at the time. And on the website, we have Gleno and Common Sense. And I don't know if we're on the website yet, because we might have forgotten to list this on the website, but we'll list it after if we did before. And thanks so much to those of you who have donated during the broadcast. We can only do these broadcasts thanks to your donations. You keep us on the air, you support Right Side, and you allow us to be independent and say what we want on the air. So we appreciate that. So if you want to keep us on the air, you can go to the bottom of the YouTube chat and click on the $ at the bottom of the YouTube chat. Even small donations really help us out. The other place you can donate is rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. You can even get free Right Side stuff like this mug in exchange for making a monthly donation. You can find out about that at rsbn.tv/donate. And I try to remind myself to mention, people periodically say, where can we get like a mug or a t-shirt with Right Side Broadcasting logo on it? Oh, they're still having their sale. TeePublic is having a sale right now. And TeePublic is the place you go to get only 32 hours. You go to TeePublic and you search RSBN. And you get Right Side Broadcasting. Click on there. And look at we got all these colors of t-shirts. I like the extra soft model, but all these different colors of Right Side t-shirts. We got kids shirts, hoodies, crew necks, stickers, bugs, pillows, all that stuff. So go to TeePublic if you want Right Side gear. TeePublic.com, search for RSBN. Thank you so much, Gary's Guns gave $10. Really appreciate that, Gary. Very nice of you. Thanks so much. Jane writes in, this proves Hitlery knew about money for dossier and sanctioned it. So I'm not aware of, well, this is an interesting point. What you're saying is, if Hillary was really in control of the DNC, and the DNC paid for Fusion GPS, Hillary must have known about that. Well, there's this other question though, where like Hillary, the DNC, wasn't it that like the DNC paid a law firm which paid Fusion GPS, and then Fusion GPS did this research? Like, so my point is, it's not clear like who knew what exactly about this dossier. Like there could have been somebody, I won't get all into this, but my understanding was that like that it wasn't like Hillary and Donna Brazile said, let's pay money for this dossier. It's the web is more, the flow of money is more complex than that. It like goes from them to like a law firm to Fusion GPS. So, you know, once you have that kind of chain going on, people further up in the chain can maybe didn't know, or can say they didn't know about what was going on at the end of the chain. I don't know enough about the specifics to know who knew exactly that money was going to the dossier. I don't even know if like the last people who paid Fusion knew that the money was going to the dossier. They might have just paid Fusion and said get some dirt on Trump, and then it was up to Fusion to decide how to do that. So I need to go back and read through all those details to get the specifics on that. Thank you, Jane, for writing in. David Opp says, I think the article said she was raising money on her own and then transferring it to the DNC. No, what the article said, David, was that she was involved in this joint fundraising thing with the DNC. But when she did this joint fundraising stuff, that money, it was like an arrangement where it was this thing called the Hillary Victory Fund. And that money was not supposed to go to her campaign. It was a fundraising, from what the article implies, she was doing these fundraising events in the States for the Hillary Victory Fund, which was not the Hillary campaign. That was a joint venture for her and the DNC, and that money was supposed to go to whoever was nominated. So that money was not supposed to be spent on the Clinton campaign. Specifically, it was supposed to go to whoever was eventually nominated. But what was happening, and there was also money being raised at these events in the states that was supposed to go for the state races too, for Democrats in the state races. So she was taking money that she was helping to raise that was supposed to go to the eventual nominee and to the state races, and she was taking that money to spend on her own campaign. So she was taking the money and spending it on her own campaign when the donors weren't donating it for that, and they didn't know it was going for that. And legally, that's not supposed to happen. Okay. Atheist Jesus said the GOP funded the dossier first, then the DNC picked it up post-primary. No, I think what happened is the GOP funded Fusion GPS, and then the DNC kept funding Fusion GPS, but only after the DNC started funding them was the dossier started to be developed. That's my understanding. But again, I would have to go back to 100% be sure and read through all this stuff. But that was my understanding of what it was. Oh, I forgot to check my email. I'm so sorry. Thank you, JC, for reminding me. Here we go. Nicholas Brown writes in, thank you, JC, for reminding me. Nicholas Brown emailed me and said, hang on one second here, guys. Okay. It says, about the DNC, why is Seth Rich, who was a DNC staffer that was assassinated for leaking emails to WikiLeaks, you're saying, why is Seth Rich not being talked about at all? Is RSBN and the rest of the news being silenced about him? No one's being silenced about us, about Seth Rich. No one's silencing us about Seth Rich. If there's some big new Seth Rich news story comes, like if the FBI comes out with a new announcement about Seth Rich, we'll definitely report it. And just, you know, I have heard no confirmation that he was assassinated for leaking emails to WikiLeaks. I've heard some people claim he leaked emails to WikiLeaks, and some people claim that's why he was assassinated. And it's up to people to believe that if they want to. I'm just saying personally, I've seen no evidence that shows that that's what happened. I'm not saying I know what happened, because I don't know what happened. I'm just saying, just clarifying from what I know about what's been shown and not shown. But really, I appreciate you writing in, Nicholas. But to answer your question, yeah, no one's telling us what to do. And Hannity does report on that stuff in a while, so he's reporting on it. Although I don't think he said anything about it lately. Jonathan Anderson writes in, Steve, I love your show and tell everyone I know to watch it. Thank you, Jonathan. However, there is a, let's see. He wrote about the size of my nose. He said, what's the exact size and scale of your nose? I don't know. I was born this way. So I guess if you're looking for a why, I would say it's because humans have features based on their chromosomes, their genetics, and the genetics from my mother and father combined to produce my facial features. That is my answer to your question. Mark Johnson writes, this Donna Brazile story means Hillary. No, we already read that comment. You sent me that on Twitter as well, so I got to that. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. All right, I think at this point we are going to wrap up the stream. But really appreciate all of you joining me tonight for this, and hope it was informative. If you want to read the story for yourself and go back and check it out, check out any of the details, it's on Politico. I'm going to show it to you right now. There it is. You can look it up on Politico and see it for yourself. That's the Donna Brazile story. I'd encourage you to read it. Look through all the details. Thanks so much to everybody for watching. Thanks so much for to the moderators in the chat rooms for moderating. Thank you for all of your comments that you sent in. Very much appreciated. Thank you to the donors. You help keep Right Side on the air. So we really appreciate all your donations. If you want to support us, we're viewer supported. Your donations keep us on the air. So if you like these broadcasts and you want to see more of them, you want to see us keep doing them, donate by going to the bottom of the YouTube chat and clicking on the little dollar sign at the bottom of the YouTube chat, or go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate. We'll keep an eye on the news when there's breaking news, whether it's during tonight or tomorrow, whenever, we'll come on and cover it. To get updated about when we're coming on the air, subscribe to us on YouTube and click the notifications bell. Make sure that notifications bell is clicked. If you haven't checked it in a while and you're not getting notifications, check that bell. Sometimes funky stuff can happen with it, so you want to check it if you're not getting notifications. Also, follow us on Facebook, Right Side Broadcasting, on Twitter at RSB Network, and I am on Twitter at Lookner. I post about breaking news even when I'm not on the air, so if you like breaking news, feel free to follow me on Twitter. Thank you, everybody saying thanks in the chat room. We got Kirk Larson. Let's see. Who else is there? Classified Information, William Geary, Lindsay, James Wolf, Handy Dandy Super Chat. Oh no, I thought Guinevere was saying Handy Dandy Super Chat. I thought there was somebody in the chat room named Handy Dandy Super Chat. Who else there? Dean H, Light Switch, Whiskey Bay. Thank you for saying thanks. Gossamer, DM, Linny. And we got the moderators, Real Frank, Jude, JC, Joanne is there, Alert, Dean. So thank you all for watching, and James Raymond. Thank you all for watching. This has been Right Side Broadcasting. We'll come on later tonight if there's big news. If not, we'll be covering President Trump's Asia trip in the coming days. So for now, I am Steve Lookner. On behalf of Right Side Broadcasting, we hope you have a fantastic evening, and we will see you soon. Hey, I cut off too fast. Let's try this again. We will see you soon.